Hello everybody and welcome to Chatmate. My name is Niels and today I would like to show you the second episode of the Paul Morphy series on this channel. Today I would like to show you a game of Paul Morphy against Charles Le Carpentier, his uncle. I'm not sure you pronounce him that way, but yeah, let's go with it. So you can probably spot the missing rook on a1. This is because Paul Morphy actually gave him rook odds in the game. So this is actually very usual. If a better player plays against a weaker player, the better player can either get less time or get less pieces. So a small handicap in that way to make the other player have some chances against a better player. So yeah, let's just see how Paul deals with this. So the game starts off with the move e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, ed, and bishop c4. So this is actually the main variation of the Scotch Gambit, just without a rook on a1. So it's exactly the same move order, and yeah, just like in the Scotch Gambit, the most played move is knight f6. But okay, in this game, Charles went for bishop b4 with check. So in this game, Paul went with the move c3, just attacking the bishop. And okay, Charles takes on c3, and now Morphy just castles. And after c takes b2, we have bishop takes b2. And this is of course playable, but it just gives white a lot of development, and you don't want to do that against a player like Morphy. And since white has an all-in mentality, it's because of the rook odds, basically white has to win in the early game, or white will never win in the later stages of the game. It's just taking an unnecessary risk against such a player like Morphy. But maybe you also have to acknowledge that Paul Morphy was only 12 years old at the time of this game, and maybe his uncle thought, let's snag some more pawns of him if he gives me the chance. So let's see how this game continued. So what do we have here? We have the bishop pair, just looking nicely at black's king side. And you can see that the g7 pawn is attacked. And if this pawn falls, the rook is also under fire, so we have to protect this pawn, indirectly or directly. The best way to defend this would be with knight f6. And let's say white pushes e5, then just knight h5. And next you kick the bishop, and after knight bd2 castles, with good play, the black rook should come into the game, and after some time the material imbalance should just be overwhelming for white, for black in this game. So this could be how the game could have continued if played correctly with the move knight f6. But the move that Charles played is also okay, with bishop undeveloping to his home square. It's okay. It's defending the pawn. It's not the best move, but it's not losing either, so you can't complain about the move. But he has to follow up correctly. After the move, Morphy still played e5, just taking some more space in the center, and black is trying to fight the pawn on e5 with d6. And now Morphy went for rook e1, just getting the rook on an open file, or semi-open file. Soon, it's not a semi-open file, but it's pretty obvious that he wants to open it very, very soon, or just use the pawn to, use the rook to stabilize the pawn. And in some variations, it could be good that the rook and the king are aligned on this file. So it's a typical move, or to just place the rook on the same file as the king or the queen. In this case, it's the king. And Charles went for a really bad move, really bad move, but it's not quite obvious why it's bad. He played the move d takes e5. The best move I will show you quickly is just playing the move d5, attacking the bishop. But it's not quite obvious, because after bishop takes d5, you just lost a pawn. But there's this move knight g to e7. Yeah, so in this position, the bishop is attacked twice. And if you, let's say, move it back, maybe to b3, white gets his queen just exchanged, and the strongest attacking piece is off the board. And the more material it gets off the board, the more black's advantage will be noticeable in this game. So moving the bishop is not very optimal. If instead you try to defend it with knight c3, then just knight takes, and just bishop e6, and we have the same problem. And yeah, now white is actually forced to retrieve the knight, and after this we would have this endgame, and of course black is absolutely fine and even winning in this game because of the extra rook. Yeah, and white could play on, but this is pretty much resignable, and white has nothing to play for really. And the king is going to be in safety really soon, and yeah, it's just hopeless in my opinion. So what can you actually do after this move? The best continuation is actually taking on c6. Just releasing the tension in the center, and after knight takes c6, you can go for a little maneuver with queen a4, just putting more pressure on the knight. But after some very natural developing moves, for example, just bishop d7, just defending the knight, getting some more pieces into the game, let's say knight c3, bishop e7, even this very passive move is okay for black. Maybe rook d1, and yeah, you can just castle. It's not the best move, but it totally works. And yeah, white has nothing to show for. He has no attack, and it's not that good for white. And yeah, this is also a line that we can show instead of rook d1, maybe queen b3, but still castles. And even if the queen takes on b7, you can't really take the pawn, because just rook b8 and you lose the bishop in the end. So this is completely lost for white. You have nothing to play for. And yeah, in this case, you can also resign the position. So in the game, if black went for d5, he would be completely fine, as we have seen in most of the variations. But in the game, he played the move d takes e5. And this is a problem now. In the game, Morphy played the move knight takes e5. However, he missed a nice tactic. Maybe you can try to spot it yourself. I will give this some time. So the move I was talking about was taking the pawn on f7 with your bishop. So bishop takes f7. So now the king is in check. He can't go to the d file because the queen is controlling that square. And he has basically two options, and both of them are bad. He can go to e7, or he can take the bishop on f7. So let's look at the obvious one, just taking the bishop. Then knight takes e5 follows, and now you have a big problem. And it doesn't matter what black plays, he will always lose his queen in this variation. Because let's again play the obvious move, just taking the knight. Then you lose your queen. But you don't really have other options. If you instead try to go to the e file, then the next move also comes with check. So let's say you go to e7, then just knight takes on c6 with a double check. So that's not good. You can't protect your queen, and because you can't go to either of these squares on d7 and e8, so you would have to go, let's say, somewhere. Then you will just lose your queen again. So that is not possible. None of these moves are possible moving to the e file. So yeah, you can probably go to f6, but even then you lose the queen with check, because now the bishop is attacking the king, and yeah, you still haven't solved your problems. So black would have to accept the knight and just go with this variation, and it's not good for black. White wins the queen, and with that the game. I mean, black is completely undeveloped and just has this knight which is also attacked twice, so this is not playable for black. So let's look at the other option with king e7. This is the best option for black in this position, but it's not a good one. So now the only move that holds an advantage for white is the move queen to b3. The idea is that you protect your bishop and also attack the knight. Now the knight is attacked twice, and yeah, black has still some problems to solve. Let's look at the obvious move. What if black says, hey, I'm going to just save my knight, you can't attack it. Then you get in a lot of trouble. Now the move that is going to follow is, excuse me. Yeah, the move that's going to follow is knight takes e5. And after knight takes e5, we get rook takes e5. And now the king has to move. Let's say the king moves to d6. Then queen d3 with check. And king c6, king b5, queen b5, excuse me, king d6, and now just bishop a3. And black gets mated in a couple of moves, so that's not possible. And the other variations are as bad for black as this variation. It's never going to end well in this line with knight to f6. So you can't do that. So what can you actually do in this line? The best move that the computer gives here is queen to d7. The idea is that the king gets behind the queen, and black goes for a setup where the king is behind the queen and the bishop blocks off the whole attack and shields the king from incoming danger, basically. Yeah, so the game would follow with bishop takes g8. You just give up the knight on g8, and you move the king to d8, just protecting the king. And white is still better, but in this position the game goes on. It's not good for black, but it's playable. Yeah, so in all these variations, you can see that white gets an advantage and black gets in a lot of trouble if Morphy would have played the move bishop takes f7. But instead, he went for the move knight takes e5. This is a bad move, but let's see how the game continues. In the game, Charles went for the queen exchange with the move queen takes d1. So yeah, now Morphy went for his idea that we discussed, but now it's a bit different. He takes on f7, and now the king actually can go to more squares than before, because this queen is not controlling the d file anymore. In the game, Charles went to e7, but this is not the best idea for black. Best is to go to d8 and excuse me, to d8, and just step out of the discovered checks of the rook. And after rook takes the queen, the king goes back to e7. To e7, and now the idea is that you first of all the rook is not on the e file anymore, but now is on the d file, and black has nothing to scare here. And yeah, what can you play actually? So your bishop is placed near the king, so basically knight takes on e5 is a threat. So let's say white makes some lazy move like h3, then just knight takes, bishop takes, and king takes, and you lost your bishop. And now you can see the material advantage for black is just overwhelming, and white is going to lose this game sooner than later. So you have to move your bishop, and let's say after bishop b3, black can just probably take the knight and go into a better endgame. And yeah, white has nothing to show for the material disadvantage and will probably lose this game. So yeah, king to d8 is the best option. I think it's not that easy to find. I'm not sure I would find it, probably not. But okay, Charles went for king to e7. But this allows Morphy a nice check on g6. So he went for knight to g6 with a double check from the rook and the knight. And Yeah, now it's a really interesting situation because Charles went into the trap of Morphy, and I think I'm not sure if that's true, but I think Morphy predicted this mistake of Charles already here when he took on e5. I can probably imagine that he thought that Charles might step into this, because now after knight g6 with double check, Charles went on to capture the bishop on f7. But now this is a really bad move, and try to find the winning move for white while I give you a couple of seconds. And yeah, just find this amazing move for white. So the move is knight takes on h8 with check and with checkmate. The knight delivers the check to the king and takes the square on g6, so the king can't go there. The rook covers all the other squares on the e file, and the bishop takes away the square on f6. So yeah, the black king gets checkmated along his bishop and his knight and his pawns, and even with the queen up. So this is a really amazing mating sequence that Morphy played here. Of course, this wasn't forced, but I think it's very pretty to look at still. And just the king standing beside his pieces and the knight in the corner delivering the mate. It's not that often that you see such a nice mate. And but it wasn't forced, so Charles kind of went into this. Nevertheless, it's a nice mate. The best defense actually for Charles here was just king d6, and after rook takes d1, king c5, this might look really insane to you, just going with the king to yeah, all the way to c5, but it's actually the best thing you can do. And yeah, after, let's say, knight takes h8, you can go into this endgame. It's absolutely playable for black, and the computer gives a slight advantage for black in this position. With correct play, it should be a draw maybe, but this was the best attempt for black. But who can blame the guy for taking this free bishop on f7? Yeah. So yeah, this was the game. I hope you enjoyed it. And this nice mating sequence is just something else. I mean, the whole idea of this whole mating sequence is just nice. Also, the bishop is the quiet hero, in my opinion, just constantly looking after the f6 square and making so many lines possible even in this game. And yeah, just think about how this bishop got here. I mean, it was really early in this game when Charles tried to grab some material, and the bishop just never left there. And it just did an amazing job by not even really doing so much in the game, but just constantly delivering some pressure on the black position. Just amazing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I will follow up soon with the Morphy series, and I hope you have an amazing day. See you.